Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you are tuning in. Whenever that is, we truly appreciate your interest in the mission of the Historic Columbus Foundation. My name is George Flowers. It is my honor and pleasure as chairman of your Historic Columbus Board of Trustees to welcome you to the 55th Annual Meeting and Preservation Awards. I will now officially call this meeting to order. On behalf of the staff and the Board of Directors, I want to thank you for joining us virtually to celebrate the work that was done throughout 2020-2021. While we would have loved to gather with you in person to applaud the accomplishments of this past year, we are indeed grateful for the technology and, more importantly, the people who have made our virtual meeting possible. We so look forward to the day when we can again safely assemble. Although most of our board and committee meetings have been virtual throughout the COVID era, your Historic Columbus team has continued to produce phenomenal results. One of Theodore Roosevelt's pearls of wisdom was this: do what you can with what you have, where you are. The Historic Columbus staff has certainly lived by this mantra during the past couple of years, demonstrating a positive and can-do attitude. We are so fortunate that we have a seasoned team executing the preservation strategic plan, led by Executive Director Elizabeth Walden, who will deliver the Historic Columbus Year in Review later in the meeting. I want to offer a word of thanks to the Executive Committee for their hard work this past year, and for the leadership exhibited by Bob Kidd, who has ably headed this group during his 2-year stint as president. We are also forever indebted to the service of our retiring board members, Ed Burdishaw, Johnny Flakes, Charles Huff, and past president Jack Jenkins, who have all faithfully served and supported this organization. Thank you. For this new year, we are honored and excited to welcome our incoming directors and trustees and thank them for their willingness to serve. The new directors are Warner NEAL and Martha PAULL, and we have 7 new trustees. They will be joining a larger class of returning trustees with a term expiring in 2024. Jack Jenkins, who will also serve as the Preservation Committee Chairman, Charles Huff, Johnny Flakes, Ed Burdishaw, Johnny CARGIL, Wes Kelly, and Carolyn Schuler-Betton. We thank you, the loyal and dedicated volunteers, trustees, directors, preservationists, contributors, sponsors, and patrons for your continued support and guidance as we work together to make our community better. Without you, our Historic Columbus Foundation would not be able to do the important work that it does. Next up in our virtual setting is Cal Evans, who has faithfully served as the treasurer for Historic Columbus Foundation. Thank you so much, Cal.
Thank you, George. I am thrilled to announce that for the 2nd year in a row, Historic Columbus has wrapped up its fiscal year with a surplus. Many factors played into this result. First was the conservative budget approved for the 2021 fiscal year, which assumed that giving totals would be adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The 2021 budget was set this time last year, 1 month before a vaccine existed, when sentiment was not as positive as it would be later. Fortunately, the economic landscape has not proven as dire as we feared possible. In fact, we saw extraordinary gains in our investment accounts. The Sarah Turner Butler Fund grew 18% over the fiscal year, and the Endowment Fund appreciated 17% over the same period. This represents over $1 million in market gains. Most importantly, giving remained in line with 2020's fiscal year numbers and beat budgeted numbers by a whopping 37%. We have moved the targets for both general donations and the annual fund higher in the fiscal year 2022 budget to be more in line with recent annual giving levels. We also have been the beneficiaries of multiple grants and incentives that became available during the pandemic. Lastly, we have completed what has been an extremely thorough review of the Foundation's financial condition in conjunction with the approval of this year's budget. and we have implemented a host of operational and financial best practices suggested by our auditors who were engaged last year to modernize our accounting methods. I would like to personally thank JPs for shepherding us through the latter, and I would like to recognize the other members of the Finance Committee, John Calhoun, George Flowers, Ed Adams, and Bob Kidd, for their contributions over what has been a very busy and turbulent year. I would also like to thank the Historic Columbus staff for their great effort, particularly Debbie Lipscomb, whose yeoman-like work keeps us running. Our fiscal year-end numbers for 2021 are as follows. Total income, $554,643. Total expenses, $625,655. Transfers from restricted account, $114,206, resulting in a net income of $43,195. With the surplus from 2020 of $52,070, this gives us a total figure in 2021 of $95,264 to the positive. Because of our volunteers, our staff, and the extremely generous support of our donors and members, I feel confident in saying that Historic Columbus is in a very strong and, in this environment, very fortunate position. We are able and ready to pursue new large-scale projects and maintain operations at current levels without taxing our investment accounts. We have a host of contingency plans to plug unforeseen shortfalls, and we are well positioned to deliver on our mission to revitalize, educate, advocate, and preserve well into the future. That said, we are again proposing a balanced budget for fiscal year 2022. As always, the surest path to achieving that goal is continued enthusiastic engagement from our membership, board, and trustees, and we're counting on all of you to help us get there. We certainly appreciate the extremely generous support given this year. Thank you. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Executive Director Elizabeth Walton to give our year in review.
Hello, everyone, and thank you all so much for joining us. We've come to the end of our 55th year as an organization, and to echo George's thanks, we are very grateful to our directors, trustees, and members. We would not be where we are today without your leadership and support. I am also incredibly thankful to our 4 directors who are rotating off the board this year and for all they have done. Past President Jack Jenkins, Ed Burdishaw, Johnny Flakes, and Charles Huff. Their time and their support have been invaluable to crafting the preservation priorities of this organization. As Cal stated in his financial report, Historic Columbus has been incredibly blessed because of you, our membership. We need you to know Historic Columbus remains on sound financial footing to brace for the challenges 2022 may bring. We've continued to stay active and in the public eye thanks to new education programming and great preservation projects. We've also gotten more creative thanks to a partnership with YALA Public Relations, stepping out of comfort zones, developing out-of-the-box ideas, and overall getting more imaginative has made us stronger. We kicked off the new fiscal year in October 2020 with a different approach to our A Night In fundraising event. Because of COVID-19, we weren't able to put the party together in person, so we approached our corporate partners and asked them to consider turning their typical sponsorship into a donation for the year. Their response was amazing, and their generosity provided an additional $40,000 in funding for Historic Columbus's general fund. We then approached you, our members, and invited you to stay at home for A Night in 2020. This night event was able to raise over $45,000 for the Virginia T. Peebles Preservation Grant and the Patricia Jackson Howard Scholarship, and fund them both for the next 5 years. This year, the Peebles Grant was awarded to the Historic District Preservation Society for bench repairs, and the Howard Scholarship was awarded in May to Raga Yalagada, who is now attending the University of Georgia. As you may have seen, a large area of focus over the past year has been expanding our communication in adult education. I have surrounded myself in the office with every history book I can get my hands on to produce informative and entertaining posts and history spotlights. We've celebrated Winton, the Northern Liberties, the Fire Department, the hospitals, Black History Month, Women's History Month, local industries, Preservation Month, the history of Phoenix City, our local military heroes, public schools, and most recently, our downtown historic churches. We consistently reach 30,000 Facebook and 2,400 Instagram accounts each month. Although, I must say, a big thank you to all of the Hardaway graduates out there who reacted to our post on the high school back in August. That one post was shared 175 times. There were 432 comments, and it reached over 37,000 Facebook accounts in and of itself. This is just one more example of how historic preservation really is more than just old buildings. It's about people and the places they care about. Which brings me to all of the great projects happening on the preservation side of things. The facade loan and rehabilitation loan programs continue to be very active, helping homeowners repair and renovate their historic properties. This past year, we provided 8 new loans for a total of $291,000 invested in our historic neighborhoods from the original city to North Highland to Midtown. Since 1997, 247 loans have been made, representing a little over $2 million of total investment through these low-interest loans. Last year, I spoke with each board member to get their thoughts on our future preservation priorities. They developed 3 top priority areas that have been the focus of specific projects, as well as creating new strategies. They include the Mill District, High Uptown, and Heritage Park. Justin Krieg began administering the City Village Master Planning Project in 2014. When that grew into a larger vision for the entire 2nd Avenue corridor from High Uptown and the TSIS campus to J.R. Island Parkway, we were definitely on board to help out. For the past 5 years, he has served as the administrator of what has now become known as the Mill District. This past summer, the Mill District announced their new CEO, Lauren Chambers. Lauren is from Columbus and is a dynamo. Her previous work was highly community involvement driven, and that has placed her perfectly to guide the Mill District in developing a strategy and plan for making positive change within those 4 neighborhoods. And Justin remains on that board to continue the partnership of our organizations. Our work within City Village and Bradley Circle has only amped up over the past year, thanks in large part to the tireless work of past President Jack Jenkins. Historic Columbus has also received over $200,000 in restricted donations for projects specifically in Bradley Circle. You want to see transformation in progress? I encourage you to take a drive around Bradley Circle. Our investments in and around the Circle have also helped to make possible numerous other private investments in the area. At least 8 non-historic Columbus-owned properties have either been renovated or are in a current state of renovation since our initial investment. However, there is one property that has become perhaps the largest catalyst for redevelopment that we've seen in a while, City Mills. When Historic Columbus partnered with Ken Henson in 2015, our mission was not only to put our money where our mouth is, but also to stand in the gap between imminent demolition and making stabilization and a future possible for the mill. This was the first investment, the pioneering step. And now, 6 years and a global pandemic later, the $34 million Mercer University School of Medicine is under construction. Peasold Management and Ken Henson have recently opened one of the 2 City Mills buildings with hotel rooms and a yoga studio. Chase Homes is being completely redeveloped. 70 new apartments in High Uptown are under construction and almost complete right across from the TSIS campus, and the High Side Market and Mid-City Yards, among other projects, are underway. In total, nearly $100 million in new investment is coming out of the ground along 2nd Avenue between 13th Street and 29th Street. Maybe it was a coincidence, maybe not. But what all this new investment does tell is a compelling story and how it's possible for a rundown, vacant and abandoned mill building to give developers, investors, community advocates, and residents a reason to think about an area differently. While Historic Columbus has been much more active with projects in High Uptown and Bradley Circle, Heritage Park, as I said, has remained a top priority for your board of directors. The park was completed in 1999 to celebrate and honor the city's industrial history. The park was privately funded and at its completion was deeded to the Columbus Consolidated Government. In 2009, Historic Columbus funded new signage, repaired water issues, provided sculptural repair, cleaned the pools, and repaired the railings throughout the property. Those repairs kept the park in fairly good shape until 2016. By that time, the park's large water feature was no longer working, and it has been dry since then. Historic Columbus has worked with Parks and Rec and city officials to secure funds through the city's budgeting process, but have been ultimately unsuccessful. While replacing the entire pump system and fixing the design issues would be the simplest thing to do, would it be the best long-term solution? One main concern expressed by both Historic Columbus and city staff in early conversations was future maintenance. When HCF started thinking about alternative solutions for the future of Heritage Park, we recognized we needed to remain mindful to our obligation to the original park donors, HCF members, and the neighborhood. It is also important that any future plans stay true to our mission. Justin and I have shared with the Executive and Preservation Committees our out-of-the-box ideas earlier this year. We also expressed that it was necessary to include the Chattahoochee Promenade in any visioning process due to its proximity, its own maintenance struggles, and the need for expanded interpretation with its educational elements. We felt this should be a comprehensive look of the area and how our community shares its history within the public realm. The Executive Committee approved hiring Neil Clark with Heck Burdishaw to put some creative vision to paper. In August, the Historic Columbus Board of Directors approved providing the staff with the ability to move forward with conversations with the city administration, city council, Heritage Park donors, and the residents of the historic district about conceptual revitalization plans. This is an exciting opportunity to reimagine these public spaces and make them more engaging to the neighborhood, our community's residents, and our visitors. We need to tell our story better, and we need to find creative ways to better maintain these community assets. It is more conversation that is our next step over the next couple of months with donors, neighbors, and city councilors. We need your thoughts, your ideas, and your concerns. Enriching our city's character through preservation, expanding the way we tell our city's stories through education, elevating our historic assets through revitalization strategies, and promoting those benefits through advocacy efforts. This is the work we do together. The bottom line is and always has been about your passion for our places, your passion for our history, and your passion to improve our community. That is what we celebrate tonight as we honor the incredible private investment by our 2021 Preservation Award recipients. Now, before I go, I also want to take one more minute to thank the Historic Columbus staff. I am so fortunate to be able to work beside them. Walker Watkins, Debbie Lipscomb, Justin Krieg, and Palmer Colson. They are an incredible team. Thank you all for everything you do for Historic Columbus and to make our community a better place. We are grateful. Now it is my great pleasure to turn things over to our Director of Planning and Programs, Justin Krieg, to present this year's Preservation Awards.
Hello everyone, I'm Justin Krieg with Historic Columbus, and it's my great pleasure to announce this year's 10 Preservation Awards. First up is the Springer Opera House. One of 3 National Historic Landmarks in Columbus, the Springer Opera House is at the top tier of significant historic properties located in our city. The Springer is no newcomer to ongoing maintenance, and most recently, the historic wood windows have been painstakingly restored over the last 12 months by volunteer board member Brian Ludke, as well as the Springer staff. The preservation of these windows and the entire theater helped to tell the story of our community and the commitment to historic preservation in our town. Next up are a group of 3 commercial properties relatively new to the preservation scene in Columbus. Local attorney Ken Henson just can't seem to get enough of historic buildings. His acquisition and rehab of these 3 properties in the 1200 block of 2nd Avenue has not gone unnoticed. The buildings include a mix of apartments, professional office spaces that bring a renewed vibrancy to this block of 2nd Avenue. Coupled up with the ongoing restoration and renovation of the Ralston Towers, these buildings again are a gift to the street and a hopeful addition to the National Register of Historic Places. Our next 3 awards are all located in the original City Historic District and have been incredible transformations. 721 First Avenue, formerly used as a law office, this newly rehabilitated historic structure in the Columbus Historic District has once again become a home for a new loving family to the neighborhood. Renovated in part by the owners themselves, the Hollifields have now a clear understanding of the challenges and rewards of fixing up an old house. It's our hope that it becomes an ideal place for them to live and raise their family. Moving on to 10 West 6th Street is owned by our good friend RENEE ROTH, and she continues to impress all of us at Historic Columbus with her ability to take on some of the most challenging properties in town. Her renovation of the house at 10 West 6th Street is nothing short of incredible. Now her primary residence, the house has, in many people's opinion, was too far gone to be saved. But RENEE brought it back to life and helped retain the historic fabric of the Columbus Historic District, which continues to see unprecedented investment and vibrancy. Historic Columbus is grateful for your love of historic houses, and RENEE, your willingness to invest in the time and energy to bringing them back to their original splendor. And lastly, in the original city is 4 West 6th Street, located right next door. The home was used as a business for many years, and the new owners recently completed a wholesale renovation top to bottom of the property. New roofing, siding, back porch, and extensive masonry fencing, among a variety of other improvements, have made this house a showstopper. Historic Columbus is thankful for the CULVERIAS family for their investment in this historic property. Moving on to the Waverly Terrace Historic District is 2901 11th Avenue. Originally built in 1913, this home was one of the most prominent houses built in this neighborhood. Over the past few years, the house has seen continued improvements and is now proving to be an anchor once again for continued investment and positive movement in the neighborhood. Driving through Waverly Terrace, you can clearly see where owners are making significant strides in maintaining and developing this great historic neighborhood. Historic Columbus is grateful for Bob CAPION and his commitment to this house and the neighborhood and continuing to make improvements there. Located in the Maricopa St. Elmo Historic District, these 2 houses at 1400 and 1540 17th Avenue have recently received major renovations. Both selling in record time, these 2 historic properties define some of the best aspects about living in historic neighborhoods. Walkable streets, nearby parks and restaurants, mature trees, and comfortable front porches. GULA has been a part of many historic rehabilitation projects over the last few years, and these homes may be some of his best work to date. Historic Columbus appreciates his eye for quality work and ability to see the potential in historic structures. At the edge of Midtown is the new MLK Outdoor Learning Trail. The addition of this trail is just one step to helping tell the full story of our community's history. Spanning 2.2 miles in length, the Martin Luther King Jr. Outdoor Learning Trail features 11 historic markers which tell the story of struggles and contributions made by the Black community in Columbus, Georgia. The physical improvements that came with the trail are already seeing new areas of economic development. This new investment, coupled with a lesson in our shared community history, is a sure combination for success. Historic Columbus is grateful to Ronzel Buckner and Turnaround Columbus for help making this project successful. Our last 2 awards of the evening belong to the Mill District. One of Historic Columbus's most tenured board members, Jack Jenkins, felt the need to start a movement with his renovation of 32 29th Street, a shotgun house located in the Bradley Circle community within the Mill District. He quickly recruited friends, his enemies, and contractors to all follow suit and begin a pattern of strategic private investment that has already impacted nearly 20 properties in just a short period of time. Beyond the beautiful restoration of this home, Historic Columbus is forever grateful for all the contributions to historic preservation that Jack has made over the years, and we are looking forward to a few more to come. And last but certainly not least is the work happening in North Highland by NEIGHBORWORKS Columbus, specifically for their work at 3517 and 3613 4th Avenue. Developing fit and affordable housing is challenging by itself, but doing that successfully with historic properties, federal funding compliance, and the complexity of building nearly 20 new homes all at the same time, to most would be impossible. NEIGHBORWORKS Columbus has never backed down from their desire to deliver quality, affordable homes to residents in the North Highland community and throughout Columbus. These 2 houses were 2 historic rehabilitation efforts championed by NEIGHBORWORKS Columbus. They helped to tie the new in with the old. Kathy and her team at NEIGHBORWORKS Columbus have done an outstanding job once again helping people achieve home ownership and in some cases in a historic home. Well, that completes our awards for the evening. I know you are just as impressed as we are with the great work happening in our community. Historic Columbus is grateful to these individuals and organizations for their continued investment in historic properties throughout our town. Now it is my pleasure to turn this meeting over to Bob Kidd, who is now Historic Columbus's immediate past president.
Thank you, Justin, for reviewing these outstanding contributions to preservation over the past year. We continue to be blessed by individuals and organizations in our community that recognize the value in this work, and we can't say thank you enough for the work you've done. When I began my presidency of HCF in 2019, I thanked you all for the honor and privilege of serving this great organization. I said I didn't feel adequate nor qualified for this responsibility, but in looking back, I remain truly grateful for the confidence and support that you've showed. As is often the case, it's not until you wind things down that you gain perspective and a certain amount of confidence in the job, and then you can begin to relax and enjoy the role. There are so many people to thank for the successes that we've achieved between 2019 and 2021. The preservation and education work, which are such a vital part of what we're about, has continued to flourish. A special thank you to our members, trustees, and directors who have stepped up to make our community a better place. Everyone has recognized that more than ever, your commitment and support have been needed. Your generosity is overwhelming in every way, from financial support and virtual presence at meetings to engaging in social media and other communication opportunities. You've been there with us, and I thank you for it. I also want to personally thank all of the committees who worked so hard to fulfill our mission, from preservation and education to finance and membership to nominating and event planning. The real work of our organization originates with you. Like every other aspect of Historic Columbus Foundation, the work continues and efforts, if anything, are stronger than ever. I also want to extend my deepest appreciation to our amazing staff. I remain in awe of their dedication, thoughtfulness, creativity, and resilience. This group has ensured that we've stayed connected and informed, that we've not only survived, but thrived during my time as president. Thanks to staff, we have new tools for reaching out and staying connected, and we're stronger than ever as a result of the challenges we've overcome. At last, we've been able to return to in-person meetings while still retaining the ability to join remotely for those who need to. What a blessing it is to have this ability. Before turning this over to our new incoming president, I want to share a gift that I received in the middle of 2021. The gift is that of a new appreciation and perspective on life that came with a cancer diagnosis. You know, there's a country song by Tim McGraw that says, "Someday I hope you get the chance to live like you were dying." Well, technically, we're all in that boat. It's just that we don't always experience the same level of urgency, as our mortality often seems very far away. I just want to share this to say that I've developed a new appreciation for most everything, most notably our work here at HCF, a new appreciation for what's important and what's not, and I'm trying to apply that each and every day. One of the things that I find is important is what a great community we have here in Columbus and the Valley. We're rich in history, rich in tradition, rich in heritage, rich in family, and rich in people. I'm not originally from Columbus, having grown up on the Gulf Coast, and my family was somewhat scattered around the South. I didn't have the benefit nor the blessing of having such deep ties to one place. My time here has been a short 40 years, and I don't have the deep multi-generational roots that many of you have. But I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for taking me in and making me a part of this story that's written each and every day here. I cherish being a part of this, and I hope to continue to hold on to what makes us so great. Again, great community, great heritage, great people, and great families. Finally, it's my distinct pleasure and privilege to recognize John Sheftel as our new and returning Historic Columbus Foundation President. John originally served in this role from 2003 to 2005, and we are all very fortunate for his willingness to serve us again in this capacity. There are great things on the horizon for Historic Columbus Foundation, and I know that together we will accomplish these things. Thank you, and good evening.
Thank you, Bob, and congratulations on a job well done. You are an inspiration to us all. Well, they say that love is even better the second time around. So if that old saw applies to my second term as president of Historic Columbus, it's going to be really great. I love Historic Columbus, and being president the first time around was certainly one of the proudest and most fulfilling times of my life. Most of you know Lucy and I moved to Columbus in 1994 to keep the Cedars, my mother's family home, in our family. I was delighted to be asked to join the Historic Columbus Board that same year and have been privileged to serve as a board member and officer all of the 27 years since. I thought I'd earned senior status, you know, when people ask for your advice and thank you for your contributions, but don't really expect you to roll up your sleeves and get to work. I was mistaken and surprised, flattered, excited, and a bit anxious. Will I be able to roll up my sleeves and meet expectations the second time around? I pledge to you all tonight, I'll give it my best shot. And I'm well aware that any hope of success rests on our amazing leadership and the resources that this fine organization continues to be blessed to have. Historic Columbus has never been more financially solid, never more respected in the community, never more poised to accomplish even greater things. This is an organization which never rests on its laurels, never takes the line of least resistance, never accepts the status quo. Our founders, like Janice and Clayson, continue to challenge us to be ever vigilant and look always to the future, to use our time and treasure to remember and interpret Columbus's history for the next generation, and to never stop securing and saving our historic resources and working to improve our community, one building at a time, one block at a time, one day at a time. I look forward to serving again as your president and joining all of you to continue the good work of Historic Columbus in the days ahead. Starting with tomorrow, I invite all of you to tune in at 11:30 a.m. to Historic Columbus's Facebook page, when there will be a live announcement of the 2021 winner of the $100,000 public participation grant. As you know, these public participation grants are one of the significant ways that Historic Columbus has been making a difference by giving worthy nonprofit organizations funds to help preserve some of our area's most important historic buildings. And this year's recipient will be no exception. So I'll see you then, and for now, we're adjourned.